Hi everyone, my name is Blaine Dickinson, and this is my presentation on change management. It's titled Change or Die. Next slide. So what is change management? The definition that I chose for change management is the management of change and development within a business or similar organization. Next slide. So what are the reasons for change management? Like, why do we have it? Why do businesses use it? Some of the reasons would be keeping up with current business trends. For example, something like this would be businesses going from, going to a more automated system, using more technology, things like that. That brings you to the next point, implementing new technology. As far as my career and my job, we're kind of transitioning from using a lot of actual physical books into now using iPads, things like that, computers, and those type of things. Another reason for change management would be changes in the workforce and workplace. I think if you have a job right now, you definitely have seen that. As far as, they call us millennials coming into the workplace. We work a different way than, say, some of the older generations. The way, people interact is a little different now. It's not so much face-to-face. It's a little bit more over email, texting, things like that. And that's about it for that. And then another reason would be new marketing techniques. This kind of goes along the lines with new technology. That would be Facebook, any kind of social media, Instagram, Twitter. Those kind of things are being used now by businesses to, market to a certain subgroup or genre of people in order, whatever target they're going for. And then one of the last reasons that change management is so important right now would be product changes. Things change day to day as far as how people build things or produce things that consumers buy. So let's do the next slide. So I titled it Change or Die. It's kind of the mentality that most businesses have today, and put a little excerpt, a little comic there if you're following along on the slide. But today's business world is a place of constant change and direction switching in order to stay relevant and competitive. And I think for most businesses you see today, 20 years ago, a business model or a business strategy would work for a business for 5 to 10 years. Now it's yearly, annually, you have to change the way you do things, the way you market yourself, and the way you're just going after the consumer as far as being successful. Next slide. Okay, so some current trends in change management. One of the current trends in change management would be integration into the roles of project managers. Now, what I mean by this is most project managers are now, change management has become a very, very big thing of what they do as far as their roles and their day-to-day operations. And it's no longer like, oh, I'm a project manager, I gotta make sure this, and this is good. Now you're integrating as far as, all right, I gotta deal with this little small change, this small change in how the workplace is going or what kind of employees they're dealing with and training and stuff like that. Another trend that's in change management now would be the awareness for the need of more change management employees themselves. So businesses nowadays are understanding that we need more people on the payroll that are just, their sole purpose is change management because of the higher amount of changes and things like that we see now in the workplace. Just being able to train someone on the new technology, it's a daily thing, especially in my work. Another trend in change management will be upper level management leading by example. So I would say probably 5-10 years ago you would have upper level management that would say do this, do that, be good with the change, but now employees are requiring upper level management to take that step as well. Show me that you're on board with this change as well. I put another funny little comic at the bottom of the slide too if you want to read it. Thought it was pretty funny. Next slide. So change management in project management. A recent poll done by Prosci found that out of the project managers that they interviewed, 77% of them say that they integrate change management into their daily roles and their daily job functions. And the next point is they implement and manage changes in processes and systems already. So most project management and change management are very, very closely correlated, but the change management focuses more on the people side of things and the small individual changes and how it affects the workforce, versus project management in general is more of, organizing tasks, making sure this is here, on time, schedule, things like that. Change management is, I got to figure out how these people are going to deal with these changes that the project manager is bringing on board. That's, training, anything from how it affects their day-to-day lives, and making sure that it's like an effective change, that it's actually going to make a difference. So next slide. All right, so change manager. The big ultimate question you get as a change manager is the how do we get there question. That's as far as the people side of things for this particular thing. It would be, I put a little comic there, but I mean it kind of sums it up as far as, a change manager is, okay, takes a group of employees and says, here's the task, here's how we're doing it, and this is where we're going to end up. Whereas instead of, throwing it at the employees and saying, well, you got to figure it out. We got to be here. The change manager is that, that middle ground. Okay, so next slide. Roles as a change manager. For the first point, it says find ways to implement the changes. That's just kind of self-explanatory. You as a change manager have to be able to find new ways, or find ways that work for the employees to implement the new changes to make it as seamless as possible from what they do already. The next point would be create training on the changes. So you are right in there with them, developing training and just trying to figure out what's the best way to take this employee that needs to learn about, say you got an employee that has never used an iPad, and you're using an iPad now for any kind of system. You have to basically create training and make sure that employee understands and knows how that works for their day-to-day functions. Another role as a change manager is just controlling the overall system and the changes and making it cost effective. Yeah, everybody says change is good and this and that, it's going to help us, but I mean the bottom line is, if it doesn't affect the costs, if it doesn't benefit the business, then the change is irrelevant. Next point would be ensure changes are being integrated smoothly for employees. I mentioned that before, but that's a big part of it, as far as being able to take somebody in their job function that day or that week or that month, however long the training is going to be, or however long you're going to take to implement the change, and by the deadline that the project manager set for something to go online, they're ready to go, they're up and running. And then the last thing would be managing the transition to completion. That's another big thing for change managers. I mean, it's super easy to walk into a business and, you being the change manager in charge of changing over a system or something and getting the employees to the next step and just, okay, here's how you do it, training and leaving it. You need to, do some follow-ups the next week, the next month. You need to be in there and just seeing how things are working smoothly, and if there's anything that could be altered or something to make their lives easier. And then I put a little slide here for communication, because I think as a change manager, communication is your number one skill, as far as you're letting your employees know, or the employees know, that what's expected of them, what these changes are, and how you're going to get there. Letting them see the big picture ahead of time makes your life so much easier. And if you're not conveying that to them, communicating that to them, then it's going to be really hard for anybody to figure out. All right, and then these next few points are kind of the same thing along with communication. They're essential for successful change. And then the last one is, clearly lay out the goals and processes, which I mentioned before. And a little picture of some goldfish jumping from, what they are. All right, so I'm going to give you an example of change management in action. So my example would be a warehouse or a business going to a new inventory system with, say, digital scanners. So as a change manager, you're gonna, sorry, I got a little dog right here. You're gonna initiate the training for the employees. So you're in charge of getting the training, developing it, and getting them already scheduled in to do the training. The next point next point would be you provide training from certified personnel. So if you're implementing, a new program or something, bring the representatives from that program there for the training and get them organized in there. And then the next step would be a mock run through with the digital scanners that we're using for the example. So get your employees together, have them do some, some mock run throughs and show them, hands on how to use these things. And the next thing would be going online with the new system. That would be, wherever your deadline is, you need to have all your employees, and then you're there that day or that week that the new system's online. And then the next point would be establish quality checkpoints to ensure successful change. So as a change manager, you need to have goals set at certain time frames to, hey, this is what's going on here at this time, and then in a week I want to be here and I want to see you guys' progress. And then I just put the last little thing which I mentioned before, follow up weekly for the next month. That's just an example of what I would think it would take for a change manager to be, after the new system's implemented and you've done what you're supposed to do, going back and following up and seeing how well the system's working. Because we all know things look great on paper when you put it in people's hands and stuff. It turns into, hey, what about this? Nobody thought about that. So following up is a big thing that you need to do. And this is the end of the presentation. And thank you for your time. And I hope you learned something.